Welcome to Let's Get Cooking. It's your girl Rashida. I'm so excited to show you how to make these tender short ribs. These ribs basically melted in my mouth. So good, so great. But first, have you subscribed? If not, please click that subscribe button and let's get started. For this recipe, I'm using 2 pounds of short ribs, some onions, carrots, red wine, some beef stock, fresh rosemary, fresh thyme, salt and pepper, and other seasonings. All right, here we go. I'm starting off by liberally seasoning the short ribs with salt, pepper, add a little seasoning salt, little Italian seasoning, and garlic powder. So I want to season both sides of the meat and make sure those have some flavor going into them right from the gate. Short ribs are a prime cut of beef. They're so tender, they're so flavorful. They are just an extra special treat when you make them. I don't think you can really go wrong if you cook them right. So to the seasoning, I'm going to go ahead and add my flour. Now I only adding flour to one side of the beef. You could add flour to both, but I don't want it to be too thick. The flour just helps to thicken the sauce that's going to cook, the broth that's going to cook with the short ribs. So that's the main reason we don't need a whole lot of that. And in the meantime, I have some olive oil heating up in my Dutch oven, and I'm just going to sear the seasonings on the meat. So basically searing means I'm just going to cook and brown the meat on all sides, and that helps to lock in the flavor of that seasoning that I just put on the meat. Searing it for about probably 2 to 3 minutes on each side. Turn it to have just a little brown crisp. Then I'm going to remove it from the Dutch oven and then continue on with the rest of the ingredients. My ribs had cooked and seared on all sides, and this is basically what it should look like. Now I'm just going to remove them right back onto the plate, and now it's time to get the rest of the ingredients brewing, and let's kick these short ribs up a notch. So I still have some olive oil, and you see the heat is still up, so I'm going to turn that down to about a medium heat, and I'm going to add a little extra olive oil to the pan, and I'm adding in my cut up carrots and onions, and I'm going to start to saute those for a few minutes, not very long. And I gave my onions and carrots just a rough chop. They don't have to be small, finely diced, perfect pieces at all, because they're going to be cooked so long that actually they're just going to blend in with the sauce. Especially the onions. The carrots, they'll still hold some of their texture, but the onions will basically just blend in with the sauce. Now I'm adding in 3 cloves of garlic that I also just did a nice rough chop in to go ahead and impart some of that garlic flavor into our sauce. So we have in this pot, we have onions, carrots, and garlic. I'm going to cook that for about another minute or two. And then I'm going to take a cup of red wine, pour that in, and I'm going to use that to help start to deglaze the pan, and that's just going to help to pick up all those little brown bits, all that flavor. But actually, before I add in my cup of red wine, I'm going to also add in a tablespoon of tomato paste. And this just helps to thicken and make the sauce a little bit richer and add in a burst of flavor, but not too much. So I'm just adding in about a tablespoon of tomato paste at this moment. And then after I stir that together, I'm adding in that 1 cup of red wine. If you don't want to use red wine, you definitely don't have to, but it does give it a nice, rich flavor, and the alcohol cooks off but you can omit the red wine and just substitute that with the extra cup of beef broth. Now, the funny thing is, I'm not a wine drinker at all, so I don't even know the difference of the red wines. But a chef, I was listening to a chef, and when I was making beef stew, they suggested that you add a little bit of red wine with your beef broth, and that does just give it a nice, rich flavor. Something about the red wine, it pairs well with the beef. So it also works well with these short ribs. So I just buy it from the store and use it for the cooking purposes. What you will notice is when I did add the wine, I scraped the bottom and it helps to deglaze the pan and it helps to bring up those little flavorful brown bits that were left when I seared the short ribs. So I just wanted to give that a good stir. Right now I'm adding some more seasoning to the pot, to the sauce. I'm adding just a blend of salt, pepper, garlic powder, and a little bit of Italian seasoning. Just need another layer of flavor. We seasoned the meat, now we need to season the sauce. And I'm going to stir that up. And then I'm going to add in 2 cups of beef broth once my seasonings are in. And you season, to your liking. I just poured in the beef broth right there. And I'm just going to give everything a stir. Now, at this moment, let me say, you do want to preheat your oven. My oven is preheated to 300 degrees. And I did that at the beginning when I started to cook. And you know what I'm adding right now? Shh, don't tell nobody. But I'm adding in a tablespoon of brown sugar. And that's just to balance the seasonings and the acidity. Just 1 tablespoon of light brown sugar. I'm just going to go ahead and drop that in. You won't even really know it's there. And last but not least, I'll be adding in my fresh herbs. I'm using fresh rosemary and fresh thyme. Just about 2 sprigs of rosemary and about 5 or 6 stems of thyme will work. I'm going to add the whole stem in. And then when it's done cooking, I will remove those stems. But that fresh is something about those fresh herbs that just brings such a nice burst of flavor. So that's the rosemary. And then I'm adding thyme. But guess what? If you don't have fresh herbs and you have some dried herbs, that's fine. You can definitely just add some Italian seasoning is good, but if you just have some thyme, add in thyme. If you just have some dried rosemary, add in rosemary. Okay, everything for the sauce is basically in the pot, ready to go. I will be adding in about 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce, which I call the W sauce, if you have some on hand. If you don't have it, it's definitely okay. But guess what I'm doing now? I am taking those short ribs that have been just chilling out, waiting to go back into the pot. It's time to add those back into the pot. The sauce is made. Everything's in the pot that needs to go. Just adding in that Worcestershire sauce. Add in all my short ribs. Just make sure they're nice and tucked in. And after this, I'm going to put the top on the Dutch oven. And this is going in the oven for 3 hours. That's how we get that slow cooked, tender, short rib. Gotta cook it long and slow. So everything's in here. You see, I still have like a medium-high heat. So it's just cooking it for a little bit. I'm going to turn that off. Put the lid on. Pop it in the oven. And just let them cook. I will take a look at them after about 2 hours. Then I'll take a look and just see where they stand, how they're coming along, and that'll let me know how much longer I need to cook them. All right, lid on. Short ribs are going in the oven. All right, after 2 hours, I've taken my short ribs out the oven and give them a peek. See how they're coming along. You see my fork? You see them going in? They're still, they're not there yet. They're not there, but they're almost over halfway. But I'm definitely going to take these because they're not tender. They're not falling apart. So they need to go back in the oven for another hour. But it's looking good and it's smelling better. I always say, wish we had a little smell-o-vision because this smells dynamite. All right, let's take that Dutch oven back on the oven for another hour and we'll take a look at them in a second. Thanks to the camera magic, it's been 3 hours. All right, I'm gonna let you just watch the process of me just pulling the short ribs apart. I'm just gonna check for tenderness. They're definitely done, so I'm not going to cook them any further. I am pairing these with some mashed potatoes. I think that's one of the best choices. You can just make a side of mashed potatoes. Don't you dare make no instant potatoes. Try to get some fresh mashed potatoes going. I can definitely make another video for that if need be. Or you can pair it with some rice. So it's really up to you. You don't even need neither. You could just have a nice vegetable to go with them. So however you like to eat them, it's great. But you see how they're just coming apart so easily now. I'm using my forks and it's not much effort. They're just kind of falling apart. So at this point, I have shown you how to make short ribs. They are not hard. They're not hard. They're worth the effort. They're worth the time. And it's just like a special little treat to have short ribs for dinner. Make them for somebody. Make them for your family. Make them for a friend. They'll definitely be happy you did. Thanks for coming in the kitchen. Thanks for cooking with me. Today I showed you how to make tender short ribs. Look at that. I got my tongs to show you just how tender they are. And let me tell you, they were a hit. They were delicious, mouth-watering. Kind of remind me of oxtails without all the little bones and stuff. So they were wonderful. And these are short ribs. Thanks for coming in the kitchen. Until next time, have a blessed day and a blessed week. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care.